Hey all, fleet day. Got issues with all the cars, so I'm gonna have to work on a couple things. The Mercury here has got a smell of gas when you fill the tank up fully. I replaced the gas tank with a new one not too long ago, but it's given me more problems than the old tank was, so we're gonna try to figure out that. The fit back there has a weird electrical problem where right now every once in a while you have to jiggle the battery connections even though they're tight to get the car to start. And then the last time it was driven, the power steering, the electric power steering was cutting in and out. So need to look into that. And then the Dodge, I have to get the exhaust issue solved or decide that I can't fix it with what I have and order some parts. Here we go. When I hopped in here, everything was acting normally. I put the key in, the dash lit up, and then I did this, did this and the entire dash went blank. Which now I can just barely see the lights are on, so I think the battery's run itself down again. I'm hoping this is just a bad electrical connection somewhere around the battery, but we got to figure this out. So the thing with this fit is I'm not running a normal battery in it. The normal battery in this thing looks too small for an ATV battery. So what I did was went up one size, this is basically a Honda Civic battery, and had to kind of muck with the battery tray and make some modifications to the side of the airbox to get this in. But I did that because for a while I was having the car die and having to get it jumped, but that was due to me leaving lights on. That wasn't an inherent problem in the car, that was just I was being dumb and the battery had so little reserve that it would die fairly quickly. So what I'm hoping is all my sort of cramming things in here, which admittedly was a year or two ago, I'm hoping that something in there is just gotten jarred loose or something. So we're going to dig in, we're going to get this battery unhooked and out of here and sort of look at everything. So I've already run into my first issue, which is that this clamp is not loosening, it's just bending upwards off the post. Fortunately it seems to bolt on here as well, so if I can get this off I can probably replace this without going to the dealer. I'm sure there's some equivalent thing out there. Obviously I'm going to have to pull it off to be sure, but I think we found our culprit here. The positive battery cable has significant fraying and a lot of corrosion. That combined with how it's fitting on here makes me suspect that this is the source of my weird electrical randomness. There's also a little bit of corrosion on the post here. I think cramming this in quite this tightly was a mistake because clearly that's been getting abused and abraded, even though I trimmed away at the airbox so that it shouldn't have been doing that. So I think at this point I got to get this cable out of here, and since I'm now home, I did all this work while I was out to try and get this battery in, so there's a bit of a hackery to it, unfortunately. But I think now that I'm home, I'm going to see if there's, by modifying the tray here, there's a different orientation I can put this battery in. I may even be able to just rotate it 90 degrees more or less and make that fit better without that abrasion. But I'm thinking this positive battery cable is going to be the source of all my woes. Let's get that thing out of there. Hey all, quick aside, because it's incredibly minor, but I managed to put a fairly deep cut in the tip of my finger. The only reason I bring this up is shop safety. I still am not the best about shop safety, but this is, I want to be very clear, not sponsored. They know nothing about this. This has nothing to do with the company itself. This is just a conceptual thing. Trying to be not stupid, I finally put a proper emergency kit in my garage. And the thing with it is it's not just a first aid kit. Specifically went to this company, Rescue Essentials is who I happened to find, but I have 3 separate kits in here. I have the normal first aid kit you would expect, but then I also have a major bleed kit. This has got tourniquets and trauma shears and all the kind of stuff that you need for somebody who's dangerously bleeding out. And to keep me from going into this to get a little piece of gauze, because I cut myself, I also have a small cuts kit. This has got little pieces of gauze, a ton of like Band-Aids type, little things. And the idea is most first aid kits will give you some band-aids, but they'll also give you all kinds of random tweezers and like Tylenol and stuff and whatnot. This is designed around specifically you've got small cuts. This is designed to be primarily a shit ton of bandages and stuff. And the idea behind this one is you don't have to open up your major bleed kit for not major bleeds. So that's it. I literally am going in here for a band-aid, but I just wanted to bring up, like, shop safety is important, and having options and varieties. Don't just buy an off-the-shelf first aid kit, because it won't serve you in a shop. In a shop, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt yourself badly. You're going to burn yourself. You're going to tear, cut yourself majorly. You need stuff equipped for that kind of emergency. You don't need a random thing that's got like tweezers and a little pair of scissors and stuff in it. Get proper shop safety stuff. Take it seriously. Alright, so I got the tray out. Now, without the tray constraining my ability to rotate the battery, I can see that there is plenty of space for the battery here. If I mount the battery more or less like that, this whole assembly here will fit down where it's supposed to. Just a little bit of sort of region, like that's supposed to go there. That'll fit just fine and won't be touching anything. The positive battery cable that I have, if I change this mount, if I mount it maybe to the underside of this instead of having it come over to the radiator, that'll fit. The negative battery cable I can loop around and that will fit just fine. So look, some sort of setup like this will work just fine. So what I'm going to do, this is the old battery tray, is I'm going to just hack off this wing and this wing and give myself a flat tray to start from. I'll strip some of the paint off the top, and then I'll just build a quick little U, probably with a crossbar this way, that is the right size to go under the battery, this way and this way, that I can then use that to attach the battery to, get my positioning down of how it should fit relative to this tray installed in the car, and then just weld it on, and then it'll have a new battery tray that fits the new battery. Once I've got that settled, so I know I'm not going to destroy the positive cable again, I'll then figure out how I'm replacing that cable. Unfortunately, because of the weird end on this that does this, this is not an off-the-shelf part by and large, and the problem is I've got an issue here and an issue here, so I can't just like get a new battery end and put it on the other cable. I'm gonna have to figure something out. Fab work should be done. We've got, here's the new battery tray as it is. We've got these two wings, have got holes in them to take the J hooks to hold the battery down. These two to keep the battery from sliding this way. And then the old battery tray, I've cut off those high spots and ground them down. I wanted to leave a little bit of a lip here because it gives a little bit of strength to it. But now, obviously I have to figure out the exact positioning, but something like that. But I haven't 100% test. This isn't 100% done because I haven't tested this on the battery. It's still too hot to want to lay it on a battery. Yeah, hopefully you noticed in the video, as soon as I didn't need the battery for measurement purposes, it went way the hell over there. So I wasn't that idiot welding next to a car battery. This bracket's going to go back into the car, and we're going to fit the battery onto here, figure out where this needs to be angle-wise, mark it, and then pull it back out again and do the final welding. I've got the tray bolted in with just the easy to access top bolts. This is the new X piece. I'm sure it's in from the right angle. Alright, there we go. In that position, I've got a little bit of room here, a little bit of room there. I've got plenty of room to snake this cable around and reconnect it. So that's our new position. Alright, so that's that. One battery bracket I welded the heck out of it anywhere that there was contact points above and below, you saw, so that this is not going anywhere. This is now as tight as the original, if not tighter. I just realized I may have screwed up because I didn't realize this had a left and a right. These are two slightly different sizes, but we should probably go check that. In fact, let's go do that. This is still hot. But did we make a mistake? Do I have to do my work all over again? Did we make a mistake? Do I have to do my work all over again? Nope, that is perfectly fine. It's exactly where I wanted it. It's exactly how I wanted it. Even just with one screw holding the thing on. It's solid. So I'm going to pull this back out and give it a quick coat of truck bed liner. Just to give it a better chance of survival. And then the fab portion of this will be done, and we move on to the electrical. Since that's going to involve leaving the house, I'm going to poke at some of the other stuff first. Okay, we're currently under the Magnum, and this is what I'm dealing with. There used to be a flex joint here, which failed. I mean, flex joints just kind of do that. And someone's solution was to ram a piece of pipe in between the two broken ends of the flex joint. Apparently did no cleanup, no prep whatsoever, and then booger welded the hell out of it to try and get it to seal, which it didn't. It may at some point in its history have briefly sealed, but it's now got, I don't think it ever did, because it's got evidence of little carbon pockets where air has been coming out all the way around this. So because this booger welding is so horrible and the access is not good, I can't get in here to clean this up enough to try and re-weld what's here, because it's just too much of a lost cause. So basically I have two repair solutions that don't involve replacing this section of pipe. The first one is cut it here, put in a proper flex joint and whatever spacer needed to fill that space. That's probably the most correct fix. The second fix is cut it, and put in a piece of flexible exhaust pipe. It's got a little bit of a bend to it, and that'll help me account for the fact that this piece does not directly line up with this piece. The biggest issue I have here is this oxygen sensor right here. I'm so close to it that by the time I cut this, I'm basically at the oxygen sensor. So that's got me kind of nervous. This side, it's fine, it's no problem. I've got a little bit of straight pipe here to work with. But that's where I am. I think I have to figure out if I can get the flex joints and how much they'll be, because I don't want to throw a lot of money at solving this problem, because I don't know if the cats are actually any good or not. And if I've got a bad cat, I've got to replace this whole pipe anyway, that'll come with the flex joint. So I don't want to spend $100 fixing these and then have to spend $300 replacing the cats anyway. So that's probably going to be my ultimate thing. If I buy the flexible pipe, not the flex joints, that'll be way cheaper, because I can buy one longer section. It'll probably give me enough for both sides on this. On the other one, same basic idea here. I got a little bit of a turn. I got a ton of booger weld. Looks like it's been booger welded and repaired more than once. And then for some inexplicable reason, this is a clamp incorporated into the booger welds. I think this is just going to end up being a thing where I'm just going to have to sort of fuck around and find out, because this has been so badly done already that my options are limited and the odds that I'm going to find problems are high. But I'd like to save the $300 if I don't have to replace the cats. So I think we're going to go to the store, price the various bits. That may give me some ability to make an easier decision, because if something's really expensive, we're obviously not going that route. And then we're going to figure this shit out. just gassed up the wagon. As you saw, made a couple stops at a couple different auto parts stores. The first one, the Advance, had none of the stuff that I needed, so that was a washout. The AutoZone had a battery cable that I think with a little jiggery-piggery and the fixing part of the old cable I can make work, I'm hoping. They did not have the flex connector, but they did have the sort of flex repair pipe thing that I might be able to use. Napa was a complete washout, didn't have any electrical stuff, didn't have, well, sorry, they had the flex joint. They were $50 a pop there, and that would have made just buying those two, let alone anything else, $100. And when it's $300 to replace both pipes on both sides with the cats, I just couldn't invest that in a it might fix it fix. So that was that. And then you saw I had to end up helping an unfortunate woman push her dead SUV out of the street. It was acting like it had no gas in it, but the tank showed half full, so I don't know. Hopefully she has a better day than that. Now that this is full, it'll probably start smelling like gas, because that's what's happened. So I'm going to take a slightly long route home to just make sure that gas gets a chance to slosh back and forth as much as possible. And then hopefully I can get under there and figure out where that gas leak is coming from and do something about it. So I'm under the wagon, having driven it home, and there's no smell of gas. It's really weird. The last fill up I did, this car stank of gas for a couple of days until I'd run the tank at least a quarter of the way down. This time, filled the tank to the top. No smell of gas, no nothing. There's no wetness or dripping on anything. So, who knows? Maybe I overfilled it and it gushed out of a overflow, but I don't think that's the case, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I guess I'll have to keep driving it and looking at it, but we can not check this one off, but we can kind of not worry about it for the moment. So we're going to call that one dealt with temporarily and get back to trying to fix that one. So I spoke too soon. I came around the other side of the car to get the stuff out of the car. This side of the car, the passenger side, stinks of gasoline, and I found the problem. That would be quite a lot of gasoline, and it's leaking from up there, which I know is where the fuel lines come from the tank. They come down, this is the fuel filter here, which, let's make sure with my dry hand, this is dry, so the fuel filter itself is fine. The line leaving the fuel filter is fine, but somewhere up there, closer to the tank, it is losing quite a lot of gasoline. So we're gonna, I think I'm still gonna continue on the fit because I might be able to get that one fixed and back and working, but then we're gonna have to dig into this. I suspect that the other end of that line that goes to the fuel filter is probably cracked or something, but hey, at least I found where the problem is. That's something. Alright, great news. I just gave the engine a quick crank. I didn't actually start the car because everything's still disconnected, but just blipped the key and it turned over just fine. Remember, at the beginning of all of this, it was acting like the battery was completely dead. So clearly, it wasn't getting enough power to the starter, and it wasn't connecting to everything else properly, which is why all my dash lights were dim and why the starter wouldn't crank. So now that I've got everything all set, it acts like it should. So to better clarify what I did, this is the end of the original cable. I cut, it turns and goes down here, and that's where that bad connection was. So I cut that off. I hammered this end as straight as I could, so that it would clamp properly. Took a little trying, but it's nice on there, nice and solid. And then this is a new cable being held on by the same bolt that held this cable to this junction box. So same kind of connection. This snakes down. I'm going to put a couple zip ties in to keep this in place because this was the only size one I could find, and goes down there. I also had to, on the other end, which looked like this one did, I put about a 45-degree bend in it, and then I ground away a bunch of the bottom so that it was a even amount around the bolt hole, because this sort of tongue here was too long. But that now attaches just fine. This is all a safe length. Like I said, I'm just going to use a couple zip ties to just keep it away from everything, but it's not pulled tight. It's also not, like, even if it would come loose, it wouldn't fall on the ground and drag. So that's great. I need to secure this back in. I need to put the air filter and top of the airbox back in. I need to see if I can find my cover for this, which is, oh, there it is. It's right here. See if that'll fit. And then that's basically it. Yeah, so major success here. This battery is now mounted better. It's more solid, and it's not jammed up against anything. Clean the connections here. I fixed this problem here. So this car should have, hopefully, the end of its electrical gremlins as a result of that. So that's one we can check off the list. So my plan under here is I'm going to cut this off basically right clear of this mess. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to cut it off here and see what I'm dealing with. Ah! Well, that sucked. Yep, I was cutting through all sorts of layers there. But anyway, you got that out. So anything I do will be an improvement at this point, because this is freaking horrible. Yeah, like these welds are beyond embarrassingly bad. Alright. I don't know why I thought that was going to work. That's way too long still. The biggest hassle right now is that I can't get anything on here because I can't get these pipes to flex enough relative to each other. I think if I cut the other side off, that'll solve that part of the problem. Ta-da! Or something. So let's get. I decided to try something. I flipped this pipe around and put the end that I'd cut there and the original end here. And I hope that this is visible, but it snugs down over that bit of pipe here. I guess this bit of pipe here has got a slight chamfer inwards, so I can get this to kind of, it's not going to just stay there, there's no way to put a clamp on it, but it means I can get it on there solidly enough that I should be able to put a bead of weld around it pretty neatly and get that end secured, and then this end I can either weld or clamp because I have overlap in here. This side, yes, you're upside down. This side is a fucking disaster. So when I cut this pipe, that was enough of a mess, but that's okay. I can slip the pipe over that. But that chamfered end that's on the other side isn't here. It's part of this horrific mass here that I don't even know what the fuck to do with, because it goes, I'm not going to get you to see it, but the weld goes fairly far up in there. There's all kinds of crap on here. So I don't even know what to do here. I think I may just have to hack this up and see what I end up with and then go forward from there. Got the replacement pipe cut for both sides and slipped on, and it actually looks like this should work. If this will weld worth a damn to this, this should work out pretty good, because this is slipped on enough here that I think I can get a solid bite, and then there's enough overlap here I can either weld it or clamp it. Same thing on that side, but I think that'll actually give me a relatively clean repair given what I had to start with. I'm going to get the welder out. I'm not going to try and film the welding because there's no real way to fit me, my welding gear, and everything else under here, and have you be able to see it without you being at risk of getting hit with molten metal and damaging the camera. So I will pick this up once I have done some welding. I'm filming from inside the car because one of my neighbor's kids has decided to play music while he's cleaning his car, and I didn't want to get my video taken down or whatever for the copyrighted music in the background. But I've got the pipes in. It took a little bit of work to get them welded up. I hate trying to weld pipes on the car like that because trying to get the top is very difficult. But the first go around on both pipes was pretty good. I had one little spot on each that was leaking when I started the car up, so fixed those. The backs of the pipes I put clamps on. One side was fine, the other side was leaking about halfway around, I think. Just where the clamp is on the pipe just wasn't sealing well. So messed with the clamp a little bit, that didn't help, so I ended up just welding the back of that pipe. I'm not going to weld the other one unless it starts to leak, because it's just such a pain to get under there with the welder and get a clean weld all the way around. The car is substantially quieter now, so I'm very happy. Today has been a very productive day. The fit is fixed. This exhaust is, I'm going to call this fixed. I've found the problem with the other wagon in the general sense. Like, I know it's leaking from somewhere between the pump and the fuel filter, probably up at the pump, but I'm not going to dig into that today because I'm tired. It's been a long day and I don't want to end the day smelling like gasoline. So we're going to call that a good productive day. 2 cars fixed, back on the road, fully functional. 1 car, I now know what the problem is in a general sense, at least. That's it. Thanks very much. Bye. So I'm doing this as a voiceover because my neighbor is still playing music, but I was poking through my paints and I found Rust-Oleum Antique White. I don't even know how old the can of paint was, but I decided to give it a shot to make this car possibly look less terrible. And it's a pretty reasonable match to the paint on the car. I didn't have enough because the can of paint was being temperamental given how old it is, but it was enough to make this fender look better and touch up a couple of other spots, so the car looks a little less terrible at a distance. So I'm happy about that.